Welcome to your child's personal safety. At Big Brothers Big Sisters, safety is our #1 priority. That's why we've created this program especially for parents as they enroll their child in a local Big Brothers Big Sisters program. It's important to remember that while sexual abuse is a difficult subject to talk about, the good news is that there are things you can do to help reduce the chances of it happening. As a quick reminder, as this is a difficult subject and can be difficult to speak about, if you feel like you need to take breaks throughout this video, please feel free to do so. As an introduction, we will watch a video to speak a little bit about what this program entails.
All children deserve to live in a world that nurtures and protects them from harm. At Big Brothers Big Sisters, we're working hard to support families who are exposed to the violence and victimization we see in many of the communities we serve. Within Big Brothers Big Sisters programs, children are safest when parents and our staff work together. Parents are our eyes and ears when it comes to checking on how the child's match is going. We count on you to let us know if there are any problems. This works like an early warning system. You can let us know about concerns with your child's match that we need to address. Sadly, all types of youth-serving organizations like sports, schools, recreation, and mentoring programs face the reality that the children they serve may be hurt by the adults who are supposed to help protect them. Big Brothers Big Sisters has put in place important policies and procedures designed to help keep children safer while they're with their big. We're very proud of our safety record, but at the same time, we need your help to continue this success. This training is the first step in our partnership with you to work together to help protect your child in their everyday lives. In this training, you'll learn why personal boundaries are important and how they help keep children safe, facts about child sexual abuse, including how sexual abusers target their victims and how abuse affects children, signs of sexual abuse you should look for in your child, what to do if you think your child may have been abused, key rules to teach children and teens to help protect them from abuse, how to talk to your child about sexual abuse, and information about our policies and procedures that set rules for relationships between bigs and littles to increase child safety.
All right, before we continue with our next section, I did just want to let everyone know that at the end of today's training, we will be sending out a resource email with all of the resources included in this video. Next, let's continue with the importance of personal boundaries. To begin, we will cover boundaries, specifically the importance of personal boundaries. To preface the video, a boundary is something that marks or separates one's person's or group's space from another. In this section, we will learn about the importance of personal boundaries for children and teens.
Rules that we use to let others know what kind of things are okay and not okay to say or do to us, with us, or around us. We have different rules that make up our personal boundaries that are shaped by things like where we live and our cultural or family values. When we have clear personal boundary rules and use them the same way every time, we are more likely to feel safe. Adults get to pick their personal boundary rules and when to use them, but children are different. Young children have to count on involved parents and other adults to pick the right personal boundary rules for them. They need adults to teach them those rules and when to use them, and to help them practice using personal boundaries to keep them safe. And they're always learning from watching what you do. Children are taught to do what adults tell them, and some adults may use their influence to trick or force children to do things that harm them. Teenagers are different too. They need basic rules to help them make good decisions when they can't or won't ask adults for help. But often, they don't like their parents or adults telling them what to do and may even argue about rules or go against them. They're also influenced by their friends, which can sometimes be helpful and at other times confusing. Teens need personal boundary rules that change based on their age. They face more difficult decisions about school, friends, their sexuality, and their behavior in general than they did when they were younger. They need rules that fit with these decisions, practice using the rules in real-world situations, and a plan for where to get help when things aren't going well. Teens are also learning to be independent. They need support and guidance to learn to do more and more things on their own. Keep in mind that a teen's brain is still developing, and their understanding of the world is different than an adult's. Like younger children, this can lead to misunderstandings, being tricked into doing things they shouldn't do, or finding themselves in situations they don't know how to handle. Having strong boundary rules helps protect children and teens when others try to violate their boundaries. A personal boundary violation is when someone goes against a person's rules about how they want to be treated. They can be physical, verbal, or sexual. Our emotions can give us clues about our own personal boundaries, what's okay and what's not okay. Physical violations involve unwanted touch. Verbal violations happen when someone says something you think is wrong or inappropriate. Sexual boundary violations involve unwanted sexual touch or statements and happen when you are sexually harassed, abused, or assaulted. They can happen when you're pressured to do sexual things before you're ready. People who violate sexual boundaries often look for easy targets like children who may not have accurate information about sex. In the next video, we'll talk about one kind of personal boundary violation, child sexual abuse.
All right, so to quickly review the video, a boundary is something that marks or separates one's person's or group space from another. Personal boundaries include or are rules that people use to let others know what kind of things are okay and not okay to say or do to them, with them, or around them. Your personal boundaries help you decide like how and when it's okay for people to touch you, how close to get to you, or how to speak to you. When we have clear personal boundary rules and use them every time, we're most likely to feel safe. A personal boundary violation, on the other hand, is when someone goes against a person's rules about how they want to be treated. They can be physical, verbal, or sexual. Physical violations involve unwanted touch. Verbal violations happen when someone says that you think is wrong or inappropriate. Sexual boundaries violations involve unwanted sexual touch or statements. To continue, we will now speak about what child sexual abuse is. Specifically, what consent is. Child sexual abuse is any sexual behavior that children do not fully understand or not able to consent to or do not give consent to. In this section, we will learn the difference between hands-on and hands-off abuse.
Child sexual abuse is any sexual behavior that children do not fully understand, are not able to give consent to, or do not give consent to. This abuse is also against the law. The abuse can be between an adult and a child, a teen and a child, or between two children. It is also any sexual behavior that includes creating pictures or video of the sexual abuse or forces children to have sex for something of value, including money or drugs. Child sexual abuse can take place between two teens when the behavior is unwanted by one of the teens. It can also include situations when one teen is younger than the other. It includes situations when one teen uses force or threats to get the other to be a part of the sexual behavior, or when one teen is on drugs, drunk, or was drugged by someone else. This means they can't consent. It also includes situations when one teen has learning or developmental delays, which means they may not understand what is happening well enough to give consent, or they may understand things more like a younger child. Sexual abuse can be hands-on or hands-off. Hands-on child sexual abuse is when there is physical touch or physical contact between the abuser and the child. This could be the abuser kissing the child, touching the child, or getting the child to touch them. Hands-off child sexual abuse is when the abuser watches the child with some or all of their clothes off, like when they're in the shower or changing their clothes, takes pictures or video of the child with some or all of their clothes off, watches or takes pictures or videos of the child touching themselves sexually or doing something sexual with another child, teen, or adult, has the child watch pornography or watch the abuser touch themselves sexually, has the child send sexual pictures or videos of themselves to someone else. After watching this video, take a look at the examples provided. You'll notice that people who sexually abuse children can be adults and teens of all ages. In some cases, children are even sexually abused by other children. Most abusers know their victims. They may be family members, relatives, friends, teachers, coaches, babysitters, or others in charge or in a position of authority.
All right, we will continue with understanding what grooming is. Children of all ages may be sexually abused, and the most common ways abusers control their victims is through grooming. In this section, we will learn what grooming is and how to spot it.
Boys and girls, children of all ages, all racial backgrounds, and from all kinds of neighborhoods may be sexually abused. Children with developmental and physical delays are at greater risk. Sexual abusers target their victims with a process called grooming. Grooming is how abusers control their victims and set them up to be abused. Grooming is used to get close to and gain the trust of a child, get time alone with a child, make it easier to carry out sexually abusive behaviors, gain the trust of adults who are supervising or watching a child, and it is used to keep a child from telling about the abuse once it's happened. Keep in mind that grooming can happen online with someone your child has not met. Their goal is often to get the child to meet in person. It can also happen when someone wants to take advantage of a child and forces them to have sex with people for something of value, including money or drugs. This is called child sex trafficking. Victims may be groomed both online and in person. Let's take a look at what the grooming process might look like. When considering a potential victim, the abuser may pick a child or teen who is different in some way that makes abusing them easier. For example, they may choose a child who doesn't have a father figure in his life and try to take on that role, or they may pick a child who seems to need a friend or is picked on by others. Abusers try to gain the child's trust by learning about their wants and needs. They use this information to give children what they want most. Abusers will also work to gain the parent or guardian's trust. They may pretend to be your friend or may get into a romantic relationship with you to get close to your child. They may also work or volunteer for a trusted community organization. Abusers may try to gain your trust by helping out with chores, running errands, or babysitting. Abusers will also create a special connection with the child. They may work hard to become a person your child can't live without. They may let them do a lot of fun things or things they aren't usually allowed to do. Abusers may use tricks and manipulation to gain control over the child. They may let them drink alcohol or use drugs and then tell the child they're going to tell on them if they don't do what they say. They might take sexual pictures of the child and then threaten to share them with the child's friends or family or online if the child doesn't do what they say. They may also gain control by staying away to show the child what it would be like to live without the abuser. Abusers often find a way to make sexual behavior seem normal. They move from respectful and appropriate touches like a quick hug to more personal contact like rustling and kissing. They may use accidental touches to see what they can get away with or trade money or gifts for allowing sexual touches. They may also use sexual pictures or videos to make this type of touching seem okay. Abusers may then try to get the child alone. They may do this by babysitting, taking children on errands, taking them for overnight trips, taking children to their house, or taking them to another part of the house. Sexual abusers may use bribes like money or toys, threaten to hurt the child or their family, or use actual force to sexually abuse the victim. Abusers may abuse children while helping them change clothes, during baths or showers, or when the child is sleeping. To try to keep the child from telling, abusers may threaten to hurt the child, friends, pets, or family members if they tell. Abusers may say, "I'll go to jail and won't be able to see you if you tell." They might also tell children, "No one will believe you," or "You'll get in trouble if you say anything." Now that you understand how grooming works, let's talk about how to spot it. Look out for people who show red flag behaviors. Red flag behaviors may be a sign that someone may be working toward abusing your child. These behaviors can include taking an unusual or special interest in your child. This may be when someone befriends your family but seems to be unusually focused on spending time with a particular child. Being overly interested in helping you out or volunteering to watch your child. Spending a lot of time alone with your child. Giving your child presents or special privileges, such as rides to and from a sports practice or game. Being overly affectionate with your child. Or appearing to be too good to be true or do too much.
All right, let's quickly review the grooming process. When considering a potential victim, the abuser may pick a child or teen who is different in some way. That makes abusing them easier. For example, they may choose a child who doesn't have a father figure in their life and take on that role. They may pick a child who seems to need a friend or is picked on by others. Another way that they can also groom is by gaining the trust of the victim and their parent. Abusers try and gain the child's trust by learning about their wants and needs. They use this information to give children what they want most. Abusers will also work to gain the parent or guardian's trust. Abusers may try to gain your trust by helping out with chores, running errands, or babysitting. Abusers will also create a special connection with the child. They may work hard to become a person your child can't live without. They may let them do a lot of things, especially fun things that aren't usually allowed in your household. All right, so we'll continue on with how to spot grooming. I'll just go through a couple of these really quick. So red flag would be being overly interested in helping you out or volunteering to watch your child. Another would be giving your child presents or special privileges, such as rides to and from sports practice or games. Or appearing to be too good to be true to do too much, sorry. All right, so in the following lesson, we will speak about children suffering from sexual abuse. We don't know the exact number of children who have experienced sexual abuse, but experts agree that most children don't tell anyone. In this section, you will learn why children keep abuse to themselves.
We don't know the exact number of children suffering from sexual abuse, but many experts agree that few victims actually tell someone about it. So what keeps them from telling?
The dynamics of sexual abuse to really understand what comes into play in children not telling. The process of that an individual who's abusing uses is so subtle, often that a child doesn't know that they've slipped into something that is inappropriate. The child may not have the intellect to understand what's happening, may not have the knowledge of sexuality, may not have received, had any discussions around sexuality, but also might just not developmentally understand that what is happening is wrong. But they have a sense that something isn't quite right at the same time because they're being asked to keep it secret, which, kids get a little bit of a sense about. So inherent in the crime itself are feelings for the child of being part of it and it being some of their responsibility. So there's an inherent shame that comes into play, which is completely misplaced, but we're talking about a child. And that is also fed oftentimes by the individual that's perpetrating the crimes. So we're talking about a child, we're talking about a crime that's very isolating for a child when they're told they can't talk about it. There's no one to help them problem solve out of it. Other things we hear from survivors are that boys are told that if they do tell someone, someone may think they're gay. And that certainly is maybe in a child's mind, or an adult that hasn't disclosed yet, may continue to be in their mind, and they may never disclose. It's painful. I think disclosures are painful. To relive the trauma of it is difficult.
All right, let's quickly review the video. In the video, Julie Novak gave multiple examples of why children might not report that they are victims of sexual abuse. Here are some examples given in the video. The abuser's process is so subtle, oftentimes the child doesn't know that the abuse is inappropriate. The child may not have the intellect or knowledge of sexuality to understand what is happening, or what is happening is abuse. The child is asked to keep the abuse a secret. The abuser tricks the victim into thinking the victim is to blame for the abuse. The abuser may also threaten the victim. For example, males are told if they report the abuse, people will think they are gay. Lastly, the abuse is traumatic for the victim, and they keep silent so that they don't have to relive it. When children do tell someone about their abuse, it may be in small bits and over a long period of time. Many children find it hard to tell difficult secrets. They're often afraid for themselves or others. Children may test adults to see if they can be counted on before telling about the abuse. These tests can include admitting to misbehavior or telling about a tiny part of the abuse to see the adult's reactions. Children may be testing to see if the adult will still love them and protect them. Children may also share parts of the abuse in a mixed up order that makes no sense. Adults can become confused by these tests and have a hard time understanding that the child is trying to tell them something. When this happens over a long period of time, adults may start to think the child is lying or making things up. As a result, parents may stop listening and the child may decide not to say anything else. They may also take back what they've already shared because they are scared or think they will get into trouble. With this in mind, let's take a look at the next lesson to learn more about potential signs of sexual abuse. Signs of sexual abuse. Many children don't tell anyone about their sexual abuse, but they do show signs. In this section, you will learn what signs look for when working to keep children and teens safe, or what signs to look for when working to keep children and teens safe.
Many children don't tell anyone about their sexual abuse, but they do show some signs. It can be hard to tell when children are being sexually abused because the signs of sexual abuse are also the signs of other problems like stress. Here are some general signs you should look for. Children who are being abused may have sudden or big changes in their behavior. They may act afraid, have trouble sleeping, or not want to be left alone. They may start acting younger than their age by doing things like wetting the bed. They may be sad or cry often. They may not want to play as much as they used to. They may have problems with school, and they may start talking about an older friend. Children who are being abused may also be angry, disrespectful, or aggressive towards adults or other children. They may want to be alone with another adult or teen a lot, or they may not want to be left alone with a specific person. They may start lying or keeping secrets about where they've been or what they've been doing. And they may start getting unexplained gifts, money, or special privileges. You should also look for changes in children's sexual talk or behavior that is too mature for their age. Children who have been exposed to adult sexual behavior may start to talk about or ask about sexual things. They may seem very interested in their own bodies or seem very unhappy with their body. They may copy the behavior by acting out sexual play with other children. They may even try to touch adults in sexual ways. Keep in mind that sexual exploration is normal for children. They're curious about all aspects of the world around them. This includes their bodies and sexual behavior. It's also not unusual for children to be curious about other children's bodies and sometimes try to touch each other. Many parents find any type of sexual behavior between children upsetting, even if it's normal. But most children don't understand the sexual part of what they are doing. They're just being curious or doing what feels good. Just like with younger children, sexual behavior is normal for teens. Adolescence is the time when teens are learning about their bodies and sexuality. But sexual behavior with their peers can be a sign of sexual abuse, especially when your child seems too young to be sexually active. Teens who are being sexually abused may also skip school, have problems with their teachers, or start getting bad grades. They may have anxiety or depression, or begin cutting themselves or showing other self-harming behaviors. They may also start having poor hygiene. For example, they may not take care of how they look or smell. They may also start using and abusing alcohol and drugs or run away from home. Keep in mind, not all children show signs of sexual abuse, and if they are showing signs, it may be the result of other issues you may need to help them with, like stress or bullying. It's important to trust your feelings and regularly ask your child about what's going on in their life. Don't ignore any suspicions. You know your child best. If something isn't right about their behavior, or if what they're saying doesn't quite match what you're seeing or feeling, don't ignore it, because sexual abuse can have devastating effects on children. Children can experience many negative effects of sexual abuse. These negative effects include emotional distress, behavioral issues, and relationship difficulties. Parents may notice some of these changes right away, while others may appear when the child is older. For example, abused children may be sad, worried, have trouble sleeping, have problems at school, and have poor self-esteem. Some may be aggressive toward others and disrespect adults, and some may act out sexually. Children and teens who are sexually abused may have relationship problems with peers, dating difficulties, and mental health issues. For example, victims may not be close to or get along with their family members, end up in abusive relationships, or experience sexual problems or dysfunction. They may also have depression or anxiety disorders. Some children and teens who are sexually abused go on to sexually victimize others, but this is a very small group of victims. It's important to know that some victims experience very few negative effects of their sexual abuse. Abused children recover better when they get the help they need. Counseling can help children and teens make sense of what has happened to them. It can also help them know what to do to feel better. Families also do better when they get the help they need. Counseling can help you and other family members deal with your own reactions and concerns. It can also help you know how to best support the victim. Please know that Big Brothers Big Sisters staff is here for you and your family. If something happens, we can connect you with the right help for everyone in your family.
All right, to quickly recap, we will identify different signs that children and teens may display when they are being abused. Children who are being abused may have sudden or big changes in their behavior, act afraid, have trouble sleeping or not want to be left alone. They can be sad or cry often, start acting younger than their age. They may not want to play as much as they used to or have problems with school. They may also start talking about an older friend. They may be angry, disrespectful, or aggressive towards adults. They may not want to be left alone with a specific person, or they may start lying or keeping secrets about where they've been. They may also start getting unexplained gifts, money, or special privileges. Teens who are being abused may skip school, have problems with their teachers, start getting bad grades, have anxiety or depression. They may begin cutting themselves or showing other self-harm behaviors, or they may start to have poor hygiene. In continuation, we will speak about what to do if your child comes to you or how parents should react. When parents learn about their child's abuse, they can react very differently. In this section, you will learn about healthy ways to respond.
parents do learn about their child's abuse, they can react very differently. Some react with anger, sadness, fear, or denial that the abuse even happened because they trusted the sexual abuser. Some parents may have a combination of these reactions. Finding out about abuse is a shock, and there is no one right way to respond. If you do learn that your child has been sexually abused, stay calm. You may be angry, but do not direct that anger at your child. It's very important that you listen to them. Sometimes children become worried by an adult's reaction, and they may wonder if they did the right thing by telling. They need to know they can talk to you. Be sure to offer support. The most important thing you can do is tell your child it wasn't their fault. Child sexual abuse is never the fault of the victim. Be clear and consistent in telling them that the abuse is never okay, that they did the right thing by coming to you, and that you support them 100%. You should also tell them that it's important you report this right away so that they and other children can stay safe. It helps to know that no matter what, protecting your child has to come first. Don't forget to find support for yourself as well. Think about the kinds of help you might need. You might need practical help like babysitting or legal advice. Or you might need emotional support from someone who will listen to you. Look to people you trust for help: family members, teachers, religious leaders, or Big Brothers Big Sisters staff members. Remember, the more support you have, the more strength you'll have to help your child. Unfortunately, sometimes parents learn that the person abusing their child is a family member. Child sexual abuse is always very difficult for a parent, but there can be additional complications when the abuser is a family member. Parents may feel guilt that they should have known what was happening and stopped it sooner. They may feel shame if others find out. Sometimes other family members will side with the abuser against the child, and this creates family conflicts. There may even be financial issues. For example, if a mother finds out that her child's father is the abuser, she may leave him and need to live on one income. She may also have a lot of new expenses like a new apartment or a lawyer. Sometimes cultural and religious beliefs affect how parents and families react to learning about child sexual abuse. Many of us have strong beliefs, values, and behaviors that have been passed down in our families. These can either help us protect children, or they can get in the way. Cultural and religious beliefs that help us protect children include the belief that children need to be protected by adults, that children are our future and are highly valued, and that we should do all we can to keep children from harm. Cultural and religious beliefs that can get in the way of protecting children include the belief that abuse brings shame to the family, that important family or community members are never wrong, that children are the property of adults, and that adults have a right to do what they want with a child. Protecting children is an important responsibility. When you belong to a family or community with strong cultural or religious traditions that may get in the way of protecting children, remind yourself that our laws say we must protect children. You can think of how many good people are ready to help us keep children safe, and you can reach out to someone you trust who can help you protect your child or help you report to the right person.
All right, to quickly review the video, we will go through these flashcards of examples of when children need to be protected by adults. When abuse brings shame to the family. Oops, sorry. Or is a belief that can get in the way of protecting children. Important family or community members are never wrong is a belief that can get in the way of protecting children. Children are our future and are highly valued is a belief that helps us protect children. We should do all we can to keep children from harm is a belief that can help us protect children. Children are the property of adults is a belief that can get in the way of protecting children. And lastly, adults have a right to do whatever they want with a child is a belief that can get in the way of protecting children. All right, in our next following section, we will speak about how to reduce the risks of sexual abuse happening. You now have a good understanding of what child sexual abuse is and how it affects children and families. In this section, you will learn ways you can lower the risk to your child.
Now that you have a good understanding of what child sexual abuse is and how it affects children and families, let's talk about some ways you can lower the risk to your child. Start by teaching your child to create healthy personal boundaries. Tell them you have a right to safe and healthy personal boundaries. Your body belongs to you, and others should not touch you in a way that hurts you. No one should make you feel bad or scared by saying mean things or by saying they will hurt you. No one should touch you in a sexual way on the parts of your body covered by a bathing suit. This means no one should touch you on your penis, vagina, bottom, or breasts, and no one should ask you to touch them in a sexual way. Be sure to use the correct names for body parts. This helps children feel more comfortable talking about their bodies and sex with you. You should also emphasize that these boundary rules go for family members, friends, neighbors, teachers, religious leaders, coaches, everyone. And remember to tell children it's not their fault if someone violates their personal boundaries. They should tell you or another trusted adult right away and keep telling until someone makes it stop. If possible, start teaching these rules to your children when they're young. But whatever your child's age, it's never too late to start teaching these rules to them. Talk to them about boundaries at least once a month so they know you're serious about protecting them. Remind them that we all need help at times in our lives, and it's important to know how to ask for help. Practice how they would ask an adult for help if someone was touching or hurting them. Let them know that you and other adults will always be there to help them. Talk with them about some other adults they could get help from if you weren't available. You can also try playing the what if game to get them thinking about how they would deal with different kinds of boundary violations. For example, if you're heading to the playground, ask them what they would do if another child touched them in a way they didn't like. You should encourage them to make a strong statement about what they want by saying things like, "I don't like that," or "Don't touch me like that." Let them know that sometimes they may need to say what they want a few times before someone will respect their boundary. Help children change their boundary rules as they get older and start dealing with different kinds of issues. For example, when teens start dating, you should talk to them about what a healthy relationship is, what kind of touching is appropriate, and what isn't. It may be uncomfortable, but it's important that you talk about sex with your child, especially teens. Unfortunately, many children and teens only hear about sex from adults who tell them what not to do, such as don't have sex or don't get into trouble. While it's not always easy to talk about, children and teens do best when they can talk with a parent about healthy relationships and healthy sexuality. It's okay for you to admit to your child that this is uncomfortable for you to talk about. Just be clear that it's really important information they need to keep themselves safe. Remember, it's difficult to see signs of abuse in some children and teens. That's why it's so important to regularly ask your children whether anyone is touching them in ways that are inappropriate, uncomfortable, or that they don't like. Keep reminding them that they can tell you anything, that you will believe them, and that no one has the right to touch them in ways they don't want. If it happens, it is never their fault. You'll also want to practice good communication with your child. It sounds simple, but just having regular conversations with your child about everyday things really can help them to be better communicators. To practice good communication, pick the right place. You want to be somewhere you can both focus on talking. That means turning all electronics off. Make the conversation fit your child's age. Start with short talks for younger children, maybe 1 to 2 minutes, and work up to longer talks, like 3 to 5 minutes, for teens. Start by talking about something interesting to your child. Help them practice by taking turns talking and sticking to the topic. Be a model for good communication. Be sure to praise them for talking with you. These conversations will not only help them feel closer to you, but may encourage them to seek help when they need it because they know you're willing to listen. These are some important messages you should share with your children often. Use words that fit their age and tell them, "You can tell me anything, anytime, and I'll help you out of any kind of problem." It's never okay for other kids or adults to touch you in a way you don't like or to touch your private parts. If that ever happens to you, it's not your fault, and you should tell me right away so I can help make it stop. If something bad is ever happening to someone in the family or to someone you know, it's important that you tell me so we can help them. If someone is bothering you or if someone is doing something to you that you don't like and I'm not around, tell another adult. If you tell an adult that someone is doing something to you that you don't like and they don't help you, find another adult to tell and keep telling until someone helps you. There are also some messages you should not share. Do your best not to say, "Listen to adults and do whatever they tell you to do." If I'm not around, think of your big coach or teacher just like another parent and listen to what they say to do. With all the stories you tell, I can't believe anything you say. If you have a problem with something, step up and take care of it yourself. These kinds of messages are harmful and may make children think they can't talk to you and that it's okay for adults to hurt them. There are many resources available to you about communication and personal safety for children and teens. You can start with Big Brothers Big Sisters safety booklets for younger children and teens located in the additional resources section of this training. For more information on this topic or any of those covered in this training series, contact your local agency or email ycps@bbbsa.org.
Let's review. Below, we will be sorting the cards in order of messages that you should care about or should share, and messages you should not share with your child. So first, if you have a problem with something, step up and take care of it yourself is a message you should not share with your child. If I'm not around, think of other adults just like a parent and do what they say. Again, is another message you should not share with your child. Listen to adults and do whatever they tell you to do is another message you should not share with your child. You can tell me anything, anytime, and I'll help you out of any kind of problem is a message you should share with your child. It's never okay for kids or adults to touch you in a way you don't like is a message you should share with your child. If something bad happens to someone else, it's important to tell me right away is a message you should share with your child. If you tell an adult you need help and they don't help you, keep telling is a message you should share with your child. With all the stories you tell, I can't believe anything you say is a message you should not share with your child. If I'm not around and you need help, tell another adult is a message you should share with your child. And as a quick reminder, your child did receive their child safety handbook at the time of their interview. So your elementary school age child should have received that booklet during their interview, and your teens should have received their safety handbook at the end of their interview as well. Lastly, we will cover Big Brothers Big Sisters and our specific youth protection system. Big Brothers Big Sisters works with parents to reduce the risk of children becoming victims of abuse. In this section, you will learn about our child protection system.
Now that you have a better understanding of child sexual abuse and ways to reduce the risk for your children, let's talk about the comprehensive system Big Brothers Big Sisters has in place to help protect children in local programs. This system of protections includes careful screening of volunteers and staff, training, policies, procedures and ground rules, and strict reporting requirements if a child's well-being is threatened. Parents are key to making sure these rules are followed. we want to make sure you fully understand the rules so that your child can have the best and safest experience possible with their big. Let's start with screening. Big Brothers Big Sisters does extensive interviewing of our bigs before they're allowed to be a part of our program. We conduct thorough criminal history record checks. We ask for a number of references, including references from other people close to the big and other youth-serving organizations. And in programs where a big may transport a child, we check their driving record. Once your child has been matched with a big, you'll be assigned a match support specialist. Match support specialists are trained, professional staff that will work with you to answer questions and offer support for as long as your child remains matched. Your match support specialist will regularly check in with you, your child, and their big to see how things are going and to provide ongoing support to help your child's match lead to the best outcomes possible for your child. This is a key strategy that Big Brothers Big Sisters uses to help keep children in the program safe. It is extremely important that parents are having regular communication with their match support specialist. You're encouraged to call your match support specialist anytime you have a question or concern about your child's match. We also encourage you to call your match support specialist regarding safety concerns that may come up outside of the match, such as bullying at school, illness, or depression. Local programs set out clear rules for bigs about things that could pose a safety risk to your child, such as appropriate use of seatbelts and car seats, cell phone use while driving, and rules against using alcohol or other drugs when they're with their little. All bigs, parents and guardians, littles, and Big Brothers Big Sisters staff receive training on child safety and youth protection. Each local Big Brothers Big Sisters agency has policies surrounding children visiting their big's home and overnight visits. You will need to discuss these policies with your local agency to determine if home visits or overnight visits are allowed in your area and to learn about local restrictions. Any bigs who own a weapon must tell Big Brothers Big Sisters staff at enrollment and update this information with staff throughout the life of the match. They must also tell their little's parent or guardian that they'll have a weapon at home. Bigs must ensure that all weapons and ammunition will be made inaccessible at all times to their little while in their care, unless on a specific pre-approved activity such as a hunter safety course. Bigs must also assure staff and parents that their weapons are stored safely and in accordance with all state and federal laws. Your local Big Brothers Big Sisters program will have policies about how bigs and littles communicate through technology and social media. For example, bigs and professional staff may be required to get parent permission before posting any pictures or personal information about littles online. Parents may also be required to provide permission before bigs and littles communicate through technology or social media. Parents are expected to monitor all communications between bigs and littles. This includes any messages or calls sent online or through cell phones. All of these rules are meant to help protect your child. If our staff or bigs suspect or find out about any child abuse, we are required by law to report it. That means that we immediately report any incident, allegation, or suspicion of child abuse involving a big, staff member, family member, or anyone else to police or child protection authorities. We strongly encourage you to report any suspected abuse immediately as well. Report directly to police or child protection authorities if your child tells you that they've been abused or if you notice any signs of abuse. Report to us if your child's big violates any of our policies or if you have any concerns about your child's relationship with their big. If you suspect or know of any abuse by your child's big, call the police or child protection authorities first. Then tell your local Big Brothers Big Sisters staff so that they can immediately address the situation. Don't let anyone tell you not to report suspected abuse to the authorities. If you're not sure, report and let the authorities investigate. Now that you're more familiar with what Big Brothers Big Sisters does to help protect your child, let's talk about some steps you can take to keep your child safer. If you haven't already, you'll be receiving additional handouts and resources from local Big Brothers Big Sisters staff. They will have specific rules explaining their local policies and procedures. Please review this information carefully. Please talk to your local staff about any questions or concerns you may have. They are there to help create a positive experience for your child. One of the most important things you can do after this training is to talk often and openly with your child. Make sure they know that you are there, you are listening, and you will do everything you can to keep them safe. Thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate you taking the time to learn more about this very important topic and how we can all work together to protect your child.
All right, let's quickly review the Big Brothers Big Sisters Youth Protection System. So as mentioned in your orientation, we do take our time to screen our mentors and make sure that they meet all of our safety requirements. Number 2 would be having the support of your match support specialist and having them along in your journey and just checking in with you and your child. Match support specialists are trained professional staff that will work with you to answer questions and offer support for as long as your child remains matched. Following match support specialists is understanding our rules and taking training, such as the one you guys are listening to now. So we really do recommend taking the time to go back and using your orientation guide or fully reviewing it, as it does have our program and our rules at much more detail. And lastly, reporting abuse. If our staff or big suspect or learn that a child may have been abused or is currently being abused, they are required by law and by Big Brothers Big Sisters of America's standards to report it. That means that we will immediately report any incident, allegation, or suspicion of child abuse involving a big staff member, family member, or anyone else to police or child protection authorities. We strongly encourage you to report any suspected abuse immediately. Report directly to police or child protection authorities if your child tells you they have been abused or if you notice any signs of abuse. Report to us if your child's big violates any of our policies or if you have any concerns about your child's relationship with their big. If you suspect or know of any abuse by your child's big, call the police or child protection authorities first. Then tell your Big Brothers Big Sisters staff so that they can immediately address the situation. That will conclude today's training titled Your Child's Personal Safety. We thank you for taking the time to listen to this information and remind you to please look out for a resource email from us. Thank you.